Marcus Chen wiped his hands on his apron and looked at the ingredients spread across his kitchen counter. Fresh tomatoes, garlic, onions, and a cut of synthetic protein that looked almost like real chicken. Living on Nexus Prime Orbital Station meant most things were manufactured, but he had learned to work with what he could get. The station was home to 47 different alien species. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic community, having joined only 30 years ago. Most species treated them with polite curiosity, like interesting newcomers who had not quite figured out how civilized society worked. Marcus did not mind. He had his engineering job, his small but comfortable quarters, and his hobby. Cooking was the one thing that made him feel human in a place where everything was automated and optimized. He started chopping the onions with practiced movements. The knife made satisfying sounds against the cutting board. Back on Earth, his grandmother had taught him to cook. She always said that food made with your own hands carried something special that synthesizers could never replicate. The door chime did not. Sound. Marcus looked up just as his assigned quarters attendant walked through the entrance. The door had opened automatically, as it always did during scheduled maintenance hours. He had forgotten today was cleaning day. Velra stood in the doorway, and her entire crystalline body went completely still. She was a crystalline, a species that looked like living sculptures made of translucent blue crystal. They communicated through patterns of light that pulsed through their bodies. Right now, every light inside Velra had gone dark. Marcus froze too. The knife still in his hand, a half-chopped onion on the board in front of him. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Velra's body began to flicker with rapid, chaotic patterns of light. Reds and oranges mixed with deep purples, colors Marcus had never seen from her before. She took a step backward, her crystalline feet making small clicking sounds on the metal floor. "Attendant Chen," she said in her artificial voice. Crystallines could not speak naturally, so they used translation devices implanted in their bodies. "What are you doing?" Marcus looked down at his hands, then at the ingredients around him. "I'm cooking dinner." "Is something wrong?" Velra's lights flickered faster. "You are?" "Touching the food components. With your appendages? Directly." "Yes," Marcus said slowly. "That's how you cook." "How else would I do it?" Velra's body pulsed with a deep amber color that Marcus's translation database told him meant profound confusion mixed with concern. "You are crafting sustenance through manual contact." "This is... You are serious? This is not a medical emergency?" Marcus set down the knife carefully. "Velra, I cook my own food almost every day. Haven't you seen my kitchen equipment before?" "I assumed it was decorative," Velra said. Her voice synthesizer made her sound calm, but her body's light patterns showed she was anything but. Or perhaps equipment for scientific experiments. I did not imagine. No civilized species manually processes nutrition. Not for millennia. Marcus had known that most alien species used food synthesizers exclusively. He had seen the cafeterias and public eating spaces on the station. You pressed a button, described what nutrients you needed, and a machine created a perfectly balanced meal in 30 seconds. But he had not realized that cooking was considered abnormal. On Earth, lots of humans still cook, Marcus explained. It's normal for us. Even common. Velra took another step back. Her lights shifted to a pale blue that indicated she was accessing information databases. I am consulting records. Yes, human culture files indicate this behavior. But I thought those were historical documents. You are saying this continues in your current time period? Absolutely, Marcus said. My grandmother taught me. Lots of people learn from their families. Your genetic predecessor engaged in this activity and transferred the knowledge through direct instruction. Velra's lights pulsed with what might have been fascination or horror. Marcus could not tell which. And your species considers this acceptable? Marcus laughed, though he was starting to feel uncomfortable. More than acceptable? It's actually something we enjoy, Joy Velra repeated. The word came out flat from her synthesizer. You derive pleasure from inefficient manual processing of nutrition? When you put it that way, it sounds weird, Marcus admitted. But yes. There's something satisfying about creating food yourself, about choosing ingredients, combining them, adjusting flavors. Every meal is a little different. Different, Velra said. You introduce random variation deliberately? This seems counter to optimal nutrition delivery. Marcus picked up the knife again. Maybe it's not optimal, but it matters to me. It connects me to my culture, my family, my history. Velra stood silent for several seconds. Her lights had settled into a steady purple pattern that Marcus's database labeled as processing unexpected information. I must report this, she finally said. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Report what? I'm not doing anything wrong. I do not suggest you are violating regulations, Velra said quickly. Her lights flickered with apologetic pink. But Station Medical Services requires notification when residents display behavior that may indicate cognitive difficulties. Manual food processing could be a symptom of developmental regression or neural damage. I'm not sick, Marcus protested. This is just cooking. That is what concerns me, Velra said softly. You believe this is normal. I must ensure you receive proper evaluation. She turned to leave, then paused. Her body pulsed with colors Marcus had never seen before, complex patterns that shifted too quickly for his database to interpret. Attendant Chen, she said. When you were ... cooking, you appeared focused, content. I have serviced your quarters for 4 months, and I have never seen you look that way before. Marcus did not know what to say to that. Velra left without another word, the door sliding shut behind her. Marcus stood alone in his kitchen, the half-prepared meal sitting forgotten on the counter. He had known that humans were different from other species in many ways, but he had never imagined that something as simple and ordinary as cooking his own dinner would cause this kind of reaction. He looked down at the knife in his hand, at the vegetables waiting to be prepared, at the small pot of water beginning to steam on the heating unit. His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory. Food is more than fuel, Marcus. It's art, it's love, it's memory. Don't ever forget that. Marcus took a deep breath and went back to chopping onions. Whatever happened next, he was going to finish making his dinner. Some things were worth being different for. Accidentally. My alien maid walked in on me. She froze when she saw what I was doing. Part 2. Cultural Collision. The message appeared on Marcus's display screen at 0700 hours the next morning. Station Medical Services requested his presence for a psychological evaluation at 0900 hours. Attendance was mandatory. Marcus stared at the message while drinking his coffee. Real coffee, brewed from grounds, not synthesized. He wondered if that would be another problem. He arrived at the medical wing with 10 minutes to spare. The waiting area was empty except for a flothery nurse whose gas-filled environmental suit made soft hissing sounds as she moved. She directed Marcus to examination room 7 without speaking. Dr. Then was waiting inside. The Mindorian had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on his face, and each eye could move independently. Right now, all 4 were focused on Marcus with unsettling intensity. Attendant Chen, please sit, Dr. Then said. His voice was deep and resonant. I have received a concerning report about your behavior. Marcus sat in the chair across from the doctor's desk. Let me guess. Velra told you I was cooking. She filed a wellness concern. Yes, Dr. Then said. 2 of his eyes blinked, while the other 2 remained fixed on Marcus. She indicated you were manually processing food ingredients in your quarters. Is this accurate? Completely accurate, Marcus said. I cook my own meals. It's normal for humans. Dr. Then's upper left eye twitched. I have reviewed human cultural files since receiving this report. The files do indicate that manual food preparation was common in your species' history. However, I was under the impression this was a primitive practice you had evolved beyond. We haven't evolved beyond it, Marcus said carefully. Many humans still cook. We teach it to our children. There are entire professions based on it back on Earth. Professions, Dr. Then repeated. He made a note on his datapad. You compensate individuals to perform inefficient nutritional processing. Marcus felt frustration building in his chest. It's not inefficient if people enjoy it. And yes, Professional chefs are highly respected in human culture. Dr. Then's lower right eye focused on his datapad, while his other three eyes remained on Marcus. I am trying to understand this. You invest time, effort, and resources to manually create nutrition that a synthesizer could produce in seconds with perfect nutritional balance. You do this voluntarily. You teach others to do it. And you celebrate individuals who are particularly skilled at this practice. When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous, Marcus admitted. I am not making a judgment, Dr. Then said, though his tone suggested otherwise. I am attempting to comprehend the reasoning. What benefit does this practice provide that justifies the resource expenditure? Marcus thought about his grandmother's kitchen, about Sunday dinners with his family, about the smell of bread, baking, and the satisfaction of creating something with his own hands. It makes us happy, he said simply. Dr. Thin was quiet for a long moment. All four of his eyes blinked in sequence. Happiness derived from inefficiency. This is a documented human characteristic. I guess so, Marcus said. You are aware that galactic standard practices eliminated manual processing approximately 6,000 years ago? Synthesizers provide perfect nutrition, eliminate foodborne pathogens, reduce waste by 97%, and free billions of work hours for productive activities. I know all that, Marcus said. But there's something about cooking that matters to us. It's creative. It's personal. Every meal is different based on the cook's choices. Variation in nutritional delivery serves no functional purpose, Dr. Then observed. Maybe not a functional purpose, Marcus agreed, but it matters to us anyway. Dr. Then made several notes on his datapad. I find no evidence of cognitive impairment. Your reasoning is internally consistent, even if the underlying premise is inefficient. I will note in my report that your behavior, while unusual, is culturally appropriate for your species. Thanks, Marcus said dryly. However, Dr. Then continued, I recommend you exercise discretion regarding this practice. Many species may find it disturbing or primitive. It could impact your professional relationships. Marcus left the medical wing feeling oddly defeated. He had done nothing wrong, but somehow he felt like he had been found guilty of something anyway. He went straight to his engineering shift, hoping work would distract him. It did not. 3 different colleagues asked him about the cooking incident before lunch. Apparently word had spread faster than he expected. A Zorgathy co-worker named Krell cornered him near the fabrication units. Is it true you touch food with your bare appendages before consumption? It's called cooking, Marcus said tiredly. Krell's feeding tendrils retracted in what Marcus recognized as disgust. We evolved beyond such practices 2 million years ago. I did not realize humans were still so primitive. Marcus bit back an angry response and walked away. This was going to be a long day. When he returned to his quarters that evening, he found Velra already there. She was supposed to service his rooms on Tuesdays and Fridays. This was Wednesday, Velra. Is something wrong? Her crystalline body pulsed with nervous yellow patterns. I wished to apologize, Attendant Chen. I did not intend to cause difficulties for you. I genuinely believed you required medical assistance. Marcus sighed and set down his work bag. It's okay. You were doing what you thought was right. May I ask a question? Velra said. Her lights shifted to curious green. Sure. Why do you cook? Dr. Then's report said you derive happiness from it, but I do not understand how inefficiency produces positive emotions. Marcus walked to his kitchen and looked at the equipment there. His pots, his pans, his knives. Simple tools that had been used by humans for thousands of years. My grandmother used to say that cooking is how we show love, Marcus said quietly. When you take time to prepare food for someone, you're saying they matter enough for you to invest that effort. It's not about efficiency. It's about care. Valro's lights flickered through a rainbow of colors. That is, I've never considered labor as an expression of emotional attachment. Crystallines outsource all manual tasks to drones. We believe our time is too valuable to waste on such activities. Maybe your time is valuable, Marcus said, but maybe some things are worth spending time on anyway. Velra stood motionless for several seconds. Then she moved closer to the kitchen counter, her crystalline body refracting the light into scattered patterns on the walls. "May I observe?" she asked softly. "I have been researching human cooking practices in the archives. The variety is extraordinary. Tens of thousands of documented recipes. Millions of individual variations. It seems impossibly complex." Marcus felt a smile forming. "Would you like to watch me make dinner?" "I would," Velra said. "If it is not an intrusion." Marcus pulled ingredients from his cooling unit. "Not at all. But I have to warn you, it might take a while. Cooking isn't fast." "I have time," Velra said. Her light settled into a steady, peaceful blue dot as Marcus began preparing the meal. He noticed Velra moving closer, her 4 eyes reflecting in her crystalline surface, all focused on his hands as he worked. She did not speak, but her body pulsed with colors that shifted with each new step of the process, for the first time since arriving on Nexus Prime. Marcus felt like someone was actually trying to understand rather than just judging him for being different. It was a small thing, but small things mattered. Accidentally. My alien maid walked in on me. She froze when she saw what I was doing. Part 3. The lesson Velra started arriving early to her scheduled cleaning times. Marcus would come home from his engineering shift to find her already there, waiting by his kitchen with her crystalline body pulsing in patient patterns. She never asked directly. She would simply position herself where she could observe and Marcus would understand. He would pull out ingredients and she would watch, her internal lights flickering with colors that his translation database labeled as fascination, confusion, and something that might have been longing. 2 weeks after the medical evaluation, Marcus caught her looking through his cookbook collection. He had brought 3 physical books from Earth, actual paper bound together, something most species considered absurdly primitive. "You can read English?" Marcus asked. Valra's body flashed with startled orange before settling to embarrassed pink. "I have been studying human languages. Your written communication carries contextual information that standard translation misses. This book describes the creation of a substance called bread." "That's a good one," Marcus said, looking over her shoulder. "Bread is one of the oldest human foods. We've been making it for over 10,000 years. 10,000 years of repetitive production of the same nutritional item." Velra's lights pulsed with disbelief. "Why not simply perfect the formula and synthesize it?" "Because every person who makes bread makes it a little differently," Marcus explained. "The weather affects it, the temperature, how long you need it. Your mood even influences it somehow. Every loaf is unique." "Unique imperfection," Velra said slowly. "You value inconsistency. We value that each thing carries the mark of the person who made it." Marcus corrected gently. Velra was quiet for a long moment, her lights cycling through complex patterns. "May I ask something inappropriate?" "Go ahead. Could you teach me?" Marcus stared at her. "Teach you to cook?" "To make bread specifically," Velra said. Her voice synthesizer stayed level, but her body flashed with nervous yellow. "I wish to understand this practice through experience rather than observation." Marcus thought about the implications. "Velra, you said manual labor is considered beneath crystallines." "If your people find out, I am aware of the social consequences," Velra interrupted. Her lights pulsed with determined red. "I have been watching you create food for 2 weeks. You enter a state of focus that I have never observed in any being. You seem more present, more alive during this activity than any other time I have seen you. I want to understand that feeling." Marcus felt something shift in his chest. This alien, from a species millions of years more advanced than humanity, wanted to learn something from him. "Something humans did, okay," he said. "But we start simple. Very simple." He pulled out flour, water, salt, and yeast. "These are the only ingredients you need for basic bread. For things. That's it." Velra's appendages hovered over the ingredients without touching them. "And these combine to create the complex substance I have observed in station cafeterias? With time and work?" "Yes," Marcus said. "First, we mix the dry ingredients," he demonstrated, pouring flour into a bowl. Then he gestured for Velra to try. Velra's crystalline appendage trembled as she reached for the flour container. She poured too quickly, sending up a cloud of white powder. Her body flashed with alarmed purple. "It's okay," Marcus said, laughing. "That happens to everyone. Flour is tricky." "I've miscalculated the required force," Velra said. Her lights pulsed with what might have been frustration. "Cooking isn't about perfect calculations," Marcus said. "It's about feel. Try again, but slower this time." Velra poured more carefully. The flour settled into the bowl in a small mountain. Her lights shifted to pleased green. They added salt and yeast. Then came the difficult part. "Now we add water and mix it with our hands," Marcus explained. Velra's body went completely dark. "Physical contact with a substance. That's how you develop the gluten structure," Marcus said. "You could use a machine, but kneading by hand gives you better control. You can feel when the dough is right." Velra's lights flickered with rapid, chaotic patterns. Marcus recognized the internal debate happening. Finally, her body settled into resolved blue. "I will attempt it." She plunged her appendages into the mixture. The dough clung to her crystalline surface in clumps. Her lights flashed with surprise. "Now push and fold," Marcus demonstrated with his own portion of dough. "Push away with the base of your palm, fold it back, turn it, repeat." Velra copied his movements awkwardly. Her appendages were not designed for this kind of work. The dough stuck to her, stretched incorrectly, resisted her efforts. "This is difficult," she said. "The substance does not cooperate." "Dough has a mind of its own," Marcus agreed. "You have to work with it, not force it." They kneaded in silence for several minutes. Marcus watched as Velra's movements gradually became smoother, more confident. Her light settled into focused yellow, the same color he had seen when she worked on complex technical problems. "It is changing," Velra said suddenly. "The texture is becoming different. More elastic, more cohesive." "That's the gluten developing," Marcus explained. "You're doing it right." "I am creating a molecular structure through manual manipulation," Velra said. Her lights pulsed with something like wonder. "This is chemistry performed through physical interaction." "I never thought of it that way," Marcus admitted. "But yeah, I guess it is." They shaped the dough into balls and placed them in covered bowls. "Now we wait for them to rise," Marcus said. "The yeast consumes the sugars in the flour and produces carbon dioxide. That makes the dough expand." "How long does this process require?" Velra asked. "About an hour?" Velra's lights flickered with impatience. "An hour of waiting? This is highly inefficient." "That's part of it," Marcus said. "Good things take time." While they waited, word of what they were doing spread through the station faster than Marcus would have believed possible. His door chime rang 6 times in 40 minutes. Co-workers, neighbors, even people he had never met wanted to see the human teaching an alien to cook. Some were curious. Others were disgusted. A Lothran engineer named Prax called it voluntary regression to primitive states. But a few responded differently. A young Dravian asked if Marcus would teach her to. A Centaurian diplomat requested recipes to study. When the hour passed, Velra's lights had been cycling through anxious patterns for the last 10 minutes. Marcus uncovered the bowls. The dough had doubled in size. "It grew," Velra said. Her voice synthesizer could not convey emotion, but her lights exploded into brilliant gold. The substance expanded through biological processes. "This is remarkable." They shaped the loaves, placed them in heating units, and waited again. When the bread finished baking, Velra's entire body glowed with colors Marcus had never seen from her before. "It smells," she said. "I have olfactory sensors, but I have never noticed food odor as significant before. This is ... pleasant." Marcus cut the bread and offered her a piece. Crystallines could consume solid food. Though most preferred liquid nutrition, Bray held the bread in her appendage for a long moment before taking a small bite. Her lights went dark, then flashed through every color in rapid sequence. "This is imperfect," she said finally. "The texture is irregular. The distribution of ingredients is inconsistent. The shape is asymmetrical." Marcus felt his heart sink. Then Velra's entire body blazed with brilliant white light. "And I made it," she continued softly. I created this. It exists because I caused it to exist. I have never felt this sensation before. That's pride, Marcus said, smiling. That's what it feels like to make something with your own hands. Velra looked at the bread, then at her covered appendages, then at Marcus. Teach me more, she said. Teach me everything. Outside Marcus's quarters, news of the cooking lesson was spreading through the station's networks. Some beings celebrated it. Others condemned it. None of them could ignore it. Something was changing on Nexus Prime. Something small but significant, and it had started with bread. Accidentally. My alien maid walked in on me. She froze when she saw what I was doing. Part 4. The Scandal. Security footage appeared on the station's internal network at 0300 hours. Someone had recorded Velra's entire bread-making lesson and distributed it to every device on Nexus Prime. Marcus woke to 73 messages waiting on his display screen. Most were from crystallines he had never met. The translations ranged from concerned to horrified to furiously angry. One message stood out. It was from someone identified as Counselor Nethra, representative of the Crystalline Cultural Preservation Committee. You have corrupted one of our citizens with primitive practices. There will be consequences. Marcus dressed quickly and tried to contact Velra. She did not respond to any messages. Her quarters were locked with privacy protocols engaged. He went to work, but could not focus. His supervisor, a patient Vorlia named Gresh, finally pulled him aside. You need to see what is happening in the common areas, Gresh said quietly. Marcus followed him to the main plaza on Deck 7. A crowd had gathered around a large display screen. The video of Velra making bread was playing on repeat. In the footage, her crystalline body glowed with pure joy as she pulled the finished loaf from the heating unit. The image froze on that moment, her lights blazing with happiness. Regression, someone in the crowd muttered. Beautiful, someone else whispered. The crowd was divided almost equally. Half seemed disgusted or concerned. The other half watched with something that looked like hunger. An Etherian engineer that Marcus recognized from maintenance approached him. Is it true? You taught her that? Yes, Marcus said carefully. Could you teach others? The Netherian asked. I have been watching that video since it was posted. I cannot explain why, but I want to try it. Before Marcus could respond, Counselor Nethra appeared. She was taller than Velra, her crystalline structure darker and more angular. Her lights pulsed with controlled rage. Attendant Chen, she said coldly, you will cease all interaction with crystalline citizens immediately. I didn't force anyone to do anything, Marcus protested. Velra asked to learn. Velra is undergoing psychiatric evaluation as we speak, Nethra said. Her family has requested full cognitive restoration. What you exposed her to has damaged her cultural programming. Marcus felt anger rising. You mean she started thinking for herself? She started engaging in primitive manual labor, Nethra snapped. She touched food with her bare appendages. She invested hours in creating something a synthesizer produces in seconds. This is not thinking. This is regression. She was happy, Marcus said. Didn't you see her face in that video? When has efficiency ever made someone that happy? The crowd around them had grown silent, listening. Nethra's lights flashed with dismissive red. Happiness derived from inefficiency is not real happiness. It is a malfunction. We evolved beyond such base pleasures millions of years ago. Maybe you evolved past something important, Marcus said. The crowd murmured. Several beings moved closer to hear better. A Dravian in the crowd spoke up. I have been thinking about this since I saw the video. My species eliminated all art forms 6,000 years ago because they served no productive purpose. But watching that crystalline create something made me remember stories. My genetic predecessor told me about artists in our ancient history. They were happy, too. We called them mentally unstable and removed that genetic tendency from our population. As you should have, Nethra said. Unproductive joy is an evolutionary dead end. Is it? A Centaurian diplomat asked. Humans are the newest species in galactic society. yet they have adapted to our civilization faster than any race in recorded history. They innovate constantly. They solve problems we have struggled with for centuries. Perhaps their refusal to optimize everything has advantages we do not understand. They are primitive, Nethra said flatly, and they are contaminating our citizens with primitive practices. Marcus saw his chance. Then let me prove you wrong. Let me demonstrate that human practices have value. Demonstrate how? Nethra demanded. Marcus thought quickly. Give me 1 week. Let me teach anyone who wants to learn about cooking, about creating things manually. If at the end of that week the beings who participated regret it, I will stop immediately and issue a formal apology. But if they are better for the experience, you have to admit that maybe humans know something worth knowing. The crowd erupted in discussion. Some shouted support. Others protested loudly. Nethra's lights flickered through rapid calculations. And if I refuse, then you prove that you are afraid, Marcus said simply. Afraid that beings might choose inefficiency over optimization because inefficiency offers something optimization cannot. The crowd went silent. Nethra's body pulsed with barely controlled fury. 1 week. But there will be rules. No crystallines participate. Velra has already been contaminated. I will not permit further cultural damage. Fine, Marcus said. Anyone else who wants to learn is welcome. And you will conduct these sessions in a designated area, Nethra continued. Not in your private quarters. This will be monitored and documented. Agreed, Marcus said. Nethra turned to leave, then paused. You will fail, human. Beings will try your primitive practices, find them unsatisfying and pointless, and return to proper civilization. You are about to prove that humanity's refusal to progress is a weakness, not a strength. She left, her crystalline body rigid with anger. The crowd dispersed slowly. But 23 beings approached Marcus before he could leave the plaza. All of them wanted to learn to cook. Marcus spent the rest of the day preparing. Station Commander Yolith, a fair-minded Vothran, approved the use of Recreation Hall 3 for what he called the Human Cultural Exchange Experiment. The name made Marcus wince, but he accepted it. That evening, Velra finally responded to his messages with a single line of text. They are telling me I am sick, that what I felt making bread was not real. Was it real, Marcus? He wrote back immediately. It was the most real thing I have ever seen. Her response took an hour. Then I refused treatment. Even if they remove me from the station, I will not let them erase what I learned from you. Some things matter more than efficiency. Marcus stared at that message for a long time. An alien being was willing to face exile from her own people because of something he had taught her, because he had shown her that creating something imperfect with your own hands could matter more than optimized perfection. The weight of responsibility pressed down on him. This was bigger than cooking now. This was about proving that humanity's way of seeing the world had value, that their refusal to fully automate, fully optimize, fully mechanize every aspect of life was not primitive weakness, but intentional wisdom. He had 1 week to prove that being human meant something. The first lesson was scheduled for tomorrow at 1400 hours. Marcus pulled out his grandmother's cookbook and started planning. He would teach them to make soup, something simple but satisfying, something that required patience and attention and care, something that could not be rushed or automated or optimized, something human. His door chime sounded. He opened it to find the Netherian engineer from earlier, along with 2 Flothery and a Centaurian. We could not wait until tomorrow, the Netherian said. Teach us now, please. Marcus looked at their faces. At the hunger for something they could not name. At the need for something their civilizations had eliminated in the name of progress. Kay, he said, stepping aside. Come in, let me show you what it means to create something that matters. The scandal was just beginning. But so was something else. Something that might change the galaxy. 1 meal at a time. Accidentally. My alien maid walked in on me. She froze when she saw what I was doing. Part 5, the human Solution Recreation Hall 3 was designed to hold 50 beings comfortably. 237 showed up for Marcus's first official cooking lesson. Station Commander Yolith had to open the adjacent halls and set up live feeds to accommodate everyone. Security personnel lined the walls, not for protection, but because they wanted to watch too. Marcus stood at the front of the hall, behind a cooking station that engineering had helped him build. His hands were shaking. He had given technical presentations before, but this was different. This mattered in ways he did not fully understand. "Thank you for coming," he said. His voice echoed through the hall. "Today, we are going to make vegetable soup. It is simple, but it will teach you the basic principles of cooking." He held up ingredients one at a time. Vegetables, water, salt, herbs. These ordinary things combine to become something greater than the sum of their parts. That is what cooking is. Transformation through care and attention. The audience watched in complete silence as he demonstrated chopping, sautéing, seasoning. He talked them through each step, explaining not just what to do, but why. "You will notice I taste the soup multiple times," he said, lifting a spoon. "This is because cooking is not about following a formula perfectly. It is about adjusting, correcting, improving. Your soup will taste different from mine. That is not a failure. That is the point." He divided the audience into groups. Each group had ingredients and equipment. Volunteers from the engineering department had worked through the night to prepare enough cooking stations. The room erupted into chaos. Beings who had never touched raw food fumbled with knives. Vegetables rolled onto the floor. Someone started a small fire by setting their heat too high. But slowly, gradually, something changed. Marcus watched a Dravian carefully stirring her pot, her face intense with concentration. A Centaurian tasted his broth, added more salt, tasted again, and smiled with satisfaction. Two Flothery worked together, one chopping while the other coached, both laughing when they made mistakes. After 90 minutes, the hall smelled like dozens of different vegetable soups. Each one unique, each one imperfect, each one made by hands that had never cooked before. "Now we eat," Marcus announced, the room filled with the sounds of beings trying food they had made themselves. Marcus moved between groups, observing reactions. A Vorlian engineer looked at her bowl with something like reverence. "I have consumed nutrition for 47 years, but I have never eaten before." "Not truly. This is different, because you made it," Marcus said. "Because I cared about making it," the Vorlian corrected. "That is the difference." Counselor Nethra entered the hall during cleanup. Her crystalline body pulsed with dark, angry colors. She surveyed the room with obvious disgust. "This proves nothing," she announced loudly. "You have wasted hours producing what synthesizers create in seconds. You have invested enormous effort for minimal results. This is the opposite of progress." "Is it?" Marcus asked. "Look around this room. How many beings are smiling right now?" Nethra looked. The room was filled with beings laughing, sharing their soups with each other, comparing results, discussing techniques. The atmosphere buzzed with energy and enthusiasm. "Temporary satisfaction from novelty," Nethra said dismissively. "It will fade." "Maybe," Marcus admitted. "But let me ask you something. When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not because it was efficient or productive or optimal, just because it brought you joy?" Nethra's lights flickered uncertainly. "That is not a meaningful question. Joy without purpose is pointless." "What if joy is the purpose?" a voice said from the doorway. Velra entered the hall. Her family had released her after the psychiatric evaluation, found nothing medically wrong. She had been forbidden from participating in Marcus's lessons, but apparently she had decided to come anyway. "You should not be here," Nethra said sharply. "I am here because I choose to be," Velra said. Her lights pulsed with determined blue. "You evaluated me and found my cognitive functions perfect. You found my reasoning sound. The only thing you found wrong was that I had experienced joy from manual creation. You called that sickness. I call that living." The room had gone silent. Every being watched the confrontation. "Our civilization eliminated manual labor because it was inefficient," Nethra said. "We evolved past it. We eliminated it because we could, Velra corrected. But perhaps we should not have. I have been researching crystalline history. Did you know that 12,000 years ago, before full automation, our species produced art, music, poetry? We had creators who were celebrated not for efficiency but for beauty. Primitive times, Nethra said. P times, Velra countered. I read the historical records. Our species reported higher satisfaction in dioceses before full optimization. We were less efficient, but more fulfilled. We traded one for the other and called it progress. You are one individual with romantic notions, Nethra said. You do not represent our species. Neither do you, Velra said quietly. You represent the cultural committee, the beings who benefit from maintaining current systems. But individual crystallines? I have received 4,000 messages since my video spread. Most were supportive. Many shared their own secret, inefficient hobbies. We are not as evolved as you claim. Nethra's lights flashed with something that might have been shock. Station Commander Yolith stepped forward. I have been watching this experiment with interest. I've also been reviewing psychological data from participants. The results are remarkable. He activated a holographic display. Charts and graphs appeared in the air. Beings who participated in cooking lessons show measurably increased satisfaction scores. They report feeling more connected to their daily lives. Their work performance has actually improved, not decreased, despite time spent on inefficient activities. The data suggests that some degree of inefficiency may be psychologically beneficial. That is impossible, Nethra protested. Yet that is what the data shows, Yolith said. Perhaps humans understand something we have forgotten. Perhaps optimization has costs we stopped measuring because we stopped believing they mattered.
Marcus saw his opportunity.
Commander, I would like to propose something. Not just cooking lessons, but a broader program. Let humans teach other species our inefficient practices. Art, music, crafts, cooking, gardening, all the things we never fully automated. Create designated areas where beings can explore these activities without judgment. You want to institutionalize regression? Nethra said. I want to offer choice, Marcus said. Let beings decide for themselves if efficiency is enough, or if they want something more. If nobody participates, then you were right. But if beings choose to spend their free time learning to create things manually, then maybe that tells us something important about what intelligent life actually needs. Yolith considered this for a long moment. I will approve a pilot program. One section of the station will be designated as an inefficiency. Zone beings may use this space to engage in manual creative activities. We will monitor participation and psychological outcomes over 6 months. This is a mistake, Nethra said. But it is a mistake I am willing to make. Dismissed. The next 6 months transformed Nexus Prime. The inefficiency zone started with 3 rooms. Within 2 weeks, it had expanded to an entire deck. Within a month, beings from other stations were requesting transfers to Nexus Prime, specifically to access the program. Marcus found himself teaching not just cooking, but coordinating dozens of human instructors who arrived to share their various inefficient skills. Artists taught painting. Musicians taught instruments. Craftspeople taught woodworking, pottery, knitting, and countless other ancient human practices. Other species began sharing their own pre-optimization traditions. Dravians remembered sculpture. Centaurians recalled poetry. Even crystallines tentatively brought forward forbidden records of their artistic history. Velra became, Marcus's co-administrator. She had been formally censured by the Crystalline Cultural Committee, but her people on the station supported her. She wore the censure like a badge of honor. I have been offered a position on 3 other stations, she told Marcus one day as they organized a new classroom space. All of them want to replicate this program. Are you going to take any of them? Marcus asked.
Oh no, Velra said.
Her lights pulsed with content blue. I am staying here. This is where it started. This is where it matters most. They stood in comfortable silence, watching as a mixed group of aliens attempted to make pasta from scratch. The room was loud with laughter and conversation, and the occasional yelp when someone burned themselves on a hot pot. Do you remember when you first walked in on me cooking? Marcus asked. I thought you were sick, Velra said. I thought you needed help. And now? Now I think you were the healthiest being on this station, Velra said. And we were the sick ones, so optimized we forgot how to live. 6 months after the program started, Commander Yolith released the evaluation results. Beings in the inefficiency zone showed 47% higher life satisfaction scores. Work productivity had increased by 12%, despite reduced work hours. Social cohesion across species lines had improved measurably. The Galactic Council took notice. Within a year, 53 stations had established inefficiency zones. Within 2 years, it was 200. Within 5 years, it became standard practice on every major station and colony. Humans. The newest and supposedly most primitive species in galactic civilization had taught everyone else something crucial. That efficiency is not the same as fulfillment. That optimization has costs. That sometimes the longest path is the better path, because what matters is the journey. It's not just the destination. Marcus eventually returned to Earth to visit his grandmother. She was 94 years old and still cooking every day. I heard you started a revolution with my recipes, she said. Kneading bread dough with practiced hands. I just taught some people to cook, Marcus said. You taught them to be human, she corrected. That is what cooking is really about. Being present, being patient, being willing to invest yourself in something that does not give immediate results. That is what makes us human. Not our technology, not our intelligence. Our willingness to do things the hard way because the hard way matters. Marcus helped her shape the dough into loaves. His hands moved with the same practiced rhythm as hers, the same movements humans had been performing for 10,000 years. Grandma, he said, what if we had optimized everything like the other species? What if we had let machines do all of this? She smiled. Then we would not be human anymore. We would be something else. Maybe something more efficient. But not something better. Back on Nexus Prime, Velra taught her first solo cooking class. 23 crystallines attended, all of them risking social censure to be there. She taught them to make bread as they kneaded the dough. Their crystalline bodies glowed with colors that had not been seen in crystalline society for 12,000 years. The colors of joy, the colors of creation, the colors of beings who had remembered what it meant to be alive. The loaves they made were perfect, asymmetrical, inconsistent. They were beautiful, and somewhere in the galaxy, on 53 stations and countless worlds, beings of 100 different species were learning the same lesson, that the most human thing you can do is choose to do something the hard way because doing it yourself matters. More than doing it perfectly, that inefficiency is not always a weakness. Sometimes it is the whole point.